All right, let's get something out of the way. This is my experience of my first British Watchmakers Day event. Mine. If you are looking for a video where somebody goes through all the brands and looks at every single watch and gives you details on that, this is not the video for you. Find someone else. Okay, now I had 3 objectives for this event. Network, try on watches that I'd seen online but wanted to try out in person, and then third was see if there was anything else exciting. And I only had 2 hours because I needed to go to a wedding in Wales, which is exactly where I am now. So doors open at 10. I had to be gone before 12 to catch a train to then pick up the hire car to drive to Wales. As much as this was my best friend's sister's wedding, so I really needed to be there, this was very important to me. So waiting in the queue was cool. It was a very long queue. So first tip, if you are going to have your first next year, with the release of the Fizz and Studio Underdog collab, people had queued up since like 6 or 7 a.m. because they wanted to be in line for that watch. So if you know that there's a watch that a brand you know will be there is going to sell as some kind of discount or promotion, get there very early so that you know you will get that watch. If you couldn't care less, like me, and you have other objectives, get there whenever. I got there at like 9:50. I didn't miss anything because I wasn't interested in that collab. It was a good collab before you attack me. With that in mind, I went in and there was this huge queue, which I assumed was the queue to kind of get into the main hall. It wasn't until the awesome Magnus came to say hi and was like, wow, so you know you're queuing up, you're gonna get one? One what? Then he explained this queue is specifically for that. Turns out it was so popular, the queue went all the way out of the main hall into like the corridor, and the line was pretty strong for like a whole hour, hour and a half, maybe even longer, just for this one release. Needless to say, after he told me where I went wrong, I left the queue immediately and went into the main hall. Here is where I could see everybody. Now, I had a similar experience to what I had at the Watch Pro Salon, where my first reaction was just feelings of overwhelm and anxiety because there were like 50 brands, and it's not like they're all in a straight line or in a circle or something. There's like an outer ring and then an inner ring and then 2 inner lanes or something like that. And then the queue for the Studio Underdog collab didn't make it any easier. So I decided, okay, I'm going to take the outer ring, then the inner ring, then the 2 lanes and figure it out from there. And that worked pretty well. So you might want to do the same thing if you know that your goal is to see every single brand in the whole event. Now, while I did have great experiences with brands I expected to, like Christopher Ward and Arken, there were definitely brands that were less hospitable, shall we say. And I'm trying very hard to not read into why there were certain stands where I would stand in front of the watches, there would be somebody free to offer me to try on the watches, and they just wouldn't. They would like pretend to look at something else or just ignore me completely. Now, I got recognized a few times, which was amazing. One of the most memorable was somebody who literally didn't say a word and just went, the most honest guy on TikTok, or something like that. I'm going to take that as a compliment. We had a great conversation. And then somebody else who recognized me seemed to be asking me to start a podcast, so maybe that's going to happen. And then the next big highlight was I went to take a photo. I went to have a bit of a fan moment with this guy, and he was like, have we met? Turns out he not only watches my stuff, but had some very nice things to say, which meant a lot to me in this niche where I have had many comments from not so nice people. A whole CEO of one of these brands approached me, still hasn't sunk in. I think because so much of my work is digital, I don't get to see real life proof that I'm having somewhat of a tiny impact on something. So again, absolutely mind-blowing. And while all of these moments had personal places in my heart, the most memorable moment for me might have to be when I met a brand that I wanted to collaborate with. I was super nervous because I'm like, okay, I only have 2 hours. And at this time, I maybe had an hour left. And I still had loads of other things I wanted to see and try on. So I was thinking to myself, okay, do I give it the act of like, what's this? What's this? When I know everything on that table, and then ask for some kind of collaboration, or go straight in and risk offending them and messing everything up. So I approached the desk to do the whole, ooh. Guy behind the desk goes, Kim. So the whole routine I practiced wasn't needed. That brand also watches my stuff, and I'll be getting an email on Monday. So all I have to do now is be normal and not mess this up. So maybe a new collaboration on the way. Again, a caveat for those that will assume that I'm saying what I'm about to say because I want clicks and fame and comments. This is my honest opinion. If you disagree with what I'm saying, express yourself respectfully. I am a grown man. Now, my overall experience with this is that there were brands that were definitely creative, but it was the brands I expected. APR, Christopher Ward, Studio Underdog, Mr. Jones Watches, Isotope, Anoma, to name a few. Everything else to me felt like it was just boring. And when I say boring, I mean nothing memorable about the individual brand. All of them seem to have these things in common. Dive watches or utility watches, sprinkled in with a bit of, we have a military background, so that makes us special somehow.
Hello, mate.
Hello. It just isn't for me. There were definitely other brands, and I'm showing them on the screen now. They were creative. They had interesting places that they draw inspiration from and things like that. That is up my street. But I would say if you haven't gone to this event before, you will find a healthy mix and you'll probably find something you like. But I think I saw way more interesting stuff at the Watch Pro event. So overall, as much as I enjoyed this event, in comparison to the Watch Pro Salon, I feel like there was much more variety, and that makes sense. I'm just saying it to say, if you are going to this event for super creative stuff, bear it in mind. It gets very crowded. So if you are approaching a table and the watch you want is on the left, assuming the table is surrounded by people, don't do what I did sometimes and queue where you think you'll get a spot and then try and move over. Because if somebody is already in front of the watch you want, you still have to wait for them to be done with it. So I would queue behind whatever watch you plan to look at specifically. Overall, great event, hosted well, tickets, getting in, easy, simple, great venue chosen, great layout. There were brands that had really cool displays and some stands that were offering magazines and other subscriptions. So all in all, great experience. I cannot wait to see next year. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe, and if you didn't like this video, tell me why in the comments. Have a good day.